Inside the Diddy trial, Cassie's cross-examination marks turning point in sex trafficking case. The high-stakes trial of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs took a dramatic turn in a Manhattan courtroom today, as singer and former partner Cassie Ventura returned to the stand for a tense and emotional cross-examination. Ventura, whose direct testimony spanned nearly 9 hours over multiple days, is the prosecution's most important witness in its case alleging racketeering, coercion, and sex trafficking. Now it's the defense's turn, and they're pulling no punches. The judge overseeing the trial gave the defense until midday tomorrow to complete their questioning of Ventura. After that, any additional time will be at the court's discretion, a signal that the judge intends to keep this sprawling case on its 6 to 8 week schedule. The defense's playbook: was it love or control? At the heart of the defense's strategy is a simple yet thorny argument that Ventura was a consenting adult, not a victim. To support that claim, they've been presenting text messages and private exchanges between Ventura and Combs that, on the surface, appear affectionate, even playful. In one 2017 message, Ventura texted Combs, "I love free gifts when we both want them," referring to sexual encounters she now says were traumatic. The defense seized on this and other similar messages, arguing they reveal a mutual willing dynamic between two adults engaged in unconventional but consensual behavior. They're trying to portray her as someone who wasn't coerced, but rather complicit, said Ariva Martin, an attorney and legal commentator following the case closely. It's a risky line. They're asking the jury to view what Cassie described as abuse through a completely different lens. Much of the questioning has centered on so-called freak-offs, group sexual encounters that Ventura previously testified were orchestrated by Combs. The defense is attempting to paint those events as mutually desired, if unconventional, experiences. But Ventura pushed back hard during cross-examination. "Those were just words," she told the court, referring to the texts. She insisted that what appeared to be consent was often driven by fear, manipulation, or a desperate attempt to maintain a semblance of control in a relationship where she felt powerless. Prosecution gears. Up to reframe. The narrative: legal analysts expect the prosecution to strike back with a carefully constructed redirect, one that places those early, seemingly consensual exchanges into a broader context of escalating violence and emotional abuse. "We haven't yet heard the full picture from the prosecution," said Martin. "They'll likely argue that what started as romantic eventually became coercive and dangerous, that consent was eroded over time through psychological manipulation, threats, and violence." Ventura's earlier testimony painted a deeply disturbing portrait: forced sexual acts with escorts, threats of retaliation, emotional blackmail, and physical assault. Her lawyers argue these experiences weren't isolated incidents, but part of a larger pattern of control and exploitation that qualifies as sex trafficking under federal law. A complicated case, a divided jury. The jury is being asked to navigate a legal minefield. When does a relationship cross the line from toxic to criminal? And how does one determine consent when love, fear, and fame are all tangled up together? "There's a real gray area here," said legal analyst Ron Matthews. "If jurors believe Ventura ever genuinely consented even once, it opens the door for doubt. But if they believe she stayed out of fear, or because she was psychologically entrapped, that's still coercion." Defense attorney Richard Harmon emphasized that point, telling reporters, "We're not denying the relationship had problems, but problems don't equal crimes. Cassie made adult choices. Now she's rewriting them. But others see it differently. What the defense calls agency, the prosecution calls grooming," said Martin. "The law recognizes that emotional and psychological manipulation, especially when paired with power imbalance, can strip someone of true consent." The $20 million question. The issue of money also resurfaced in court, specifically Ventura's $20 million civil settlement with Combs after she filed a lawsuit in 2023. While the amount was previously confidential, its disclosure this week gave the defense new ammunition. Their claim: Ventura was driven by financial gain and chose to stay in the relationship for the lifestyle. But that could be a double-edged sword. "There's a danger for the defense in making too much of that," Martin noted. "Some jurors might see $20 million as hush money or as proof that Combs was trying to avoid a damaging trial. Others might feel that no amount of money can compensate for the trauma she described." What happens next with time running out on the defense's cross-examination? Attention now shifts to the prosecution's next move. They're expected to return to the narrative of control and exploitation, tying together the early texts, the lavish lifestyle, and the later allegations of abuse into a single chilling arc. In the end, the case may come down to which version of events the jury finds more believable: a relationship that devolved into control, fear, and trauma, or a consensual partnership reinterpreted through hindsight. The outcome carries enormous stakes, not just for Sean Combs, whose career and reputation are already under siege, but for how the legal system defines power, influence, and consent in relationships shaped by fame, wealth, and imbalance. As the courtroom drama unfolds, one thing is clear: the trial of Sean Diddy Combs is about far more than celebrity. It's about the murky lines between love and control, power and abuse, and who gets to define them.